but CJ, I already know the real story of the Wizard of Oz. I watched Wicked.
That's right, Ethan. You did watch a lie.
What?
Yeah. See?
Wow, just like the Wizard of Oz.
That's right.
All right.
So I know that Ethan has seen Wicked because I was there to see it with him. And also Lizzie was there to see it with us as well. So we've seen Wicked. So we know the truth, or do we? But
The
Fran,
truth.
have you seen Wicked?
No, but I am from Kansas, which I understand that
So
when
they
we
just
go to
teach
Oz,
that.
we're not in Kansas anymore. But like, I
Mhm.
feel like I have some latent knowledge about the Wizard of Oz, considering that's the one line that people like to say to me when they meet me a lot. So
Because
I think
when
have,
they meet you, they can tell. They're like, this one's from Kansas.
and then they really like to let me know that I'm not in Kansas anymore.
That is also true. You don't live in Kansas anymore.
Yeah, so that's
Not
more
to-
of a Wizard
not
of
to
Oz
dox
thing
you.
as opposed to Wicked, but I feel like I have a decent amount of just background knowledge just from my existence in the state.
My understanding is the Land of Oz is very Kansas lore based.
Right. It's steeped heavily in the traditions of Kansas, as we will see.
The
Wow, this
wheats,
sounds so interesting.
Yeah, couldn't be more interesting. than
Sunflowers.
Kansas.
So
Is that all you can list about Kansas? Sunflowers?
We got a
Well,
lot
she
of
didn't
them.
spend
Got a lot of
She didn't
sunflowers.
spend that long there.
People think it's flatter than a pancake, but I would argue that's only Western Kansas. But then we're just getting into pedantry, so I don't know.
I beg of you, Fran, intro us instead of talking about the landscape of Kansas more.
Sure. Well, welcome to The Lore You Know, a podcast where some friends dive into the fantastical and often convoluted lore of the media that we grew up with and love. And here to bring you the mostly correct facts about made-up things this week are me, Fran.
Me, Ethan.
Me, Lizzie.
And I'm CJ, and I'm sick. I got sick, and Fran got sick.
You are
Yep.
sick.
Oh,
You're
thanks.
sick as hell.
Thanks, darling.
CJ's
And
more sick than I am, that's for sure. I got to spend 2 days sleeping all day.
And
But boy, do I have a headache.
And I didn't, but I thought to myself, we owe it to the listeners. So
Mhm.
I have devised a cunning. We haven't done this in a while, so I figured we'd bring it back for a little more short form-esque content to play a game.
Yay!
Another
Woo!
game.
Not a Fran game. Excellent. I didn't have to work on this one.
We already
That's-
did Saw.
That's right. This will be similar in theme.
Wait,
Um,
Wicked is Saw, but in the Land of Oz?
Oh my god. There's a lot of misinformation and disinformation going around now that there's a little show out there. It's called Wicked. I don't know if
Wicked's
you've heard of
propaganda
it,
for the Wicked Witch of the East, for sure.
but it has not done any justice in spreading the truth about the Wizard of Oz. And so, in order to combat that disinformation, I'm going to provide you with regular information and maybe some misinformation, but that's not my fault. There's just a lot to sort through. So I spent about an hour throwing together some Wizard of Oz trivia,
Now,
and we're gonna play a little game to get the truth of the matter.
so does this mean this is from the source material Wizard of Oz and not from fan fiction like Wicked? Because
That's
Wicked
right,
only
Fran.
came about because the copyright came up, and so people could write
Right.
whatever the hell they wanted about it.
So I found myself on a Quora page, and
Quora
As
and-
one often does.
Oh no!
and-
Great source
and
of info.
And someone was out there asking, based on the plot of Wicked, how come the characters in the Wizard of Oz don't act like that? Like, why do they pretend not to know Dorothy, even though they all met her before? or whatever.
Because it's
And
That's you,
And-
sweet
and
summer
so-
child.
One was written before the other.
so right,
canon,
of course,
not canon.
the answer is because that is not the order that the things were written in. But that's why we're here, to bring the truth of the lore that you know.
Ugh.
So we are going to abide by the original Wizard of Oz canon books.
Excellent.
So Fran, already to correct you off of the bat,
Mhm.
the Wizard of Oz is not a single book.
It is a
but
series
is
of books.
It's actually a series of 40 books that were written in the early 1900s. You can absolutely miss me with that shit to have read all 40 children's books, 13 of which were written by the original author.
You didn't do the research then.
Which is, I would say I cherry picked
He's-
the funny ones.
He's got
Otherwise-
the lore that he knows.
That's right. That's why it's called that.
I've got the lore that Quora knows.
L. Frank Baum originally wrote the series, starting in 1900. I think he wrote 13 books and then died, and then they kept writing them as per his wishes. He was only going to write one,
Mhm.
Wait,
and
those,
then
those
people.
those were his wishes specifically.
I was going to say, so when he died, he was like, I wish for my books to continue being written by so and so.
Well, he picked his successor, so yeah.
I was going to say, well, that would
Weren't
be-
they attributed to him though? Still, even though
So-
he
that
was
would be a
dead?
lot of pressure.
The first 13 were written by him, and he really was only going to write one, and then it kind of popped off in a way he didn't expect. So then he wrote a second one
Classic
that didn't
Hollywood.
pop off quite as much, but they were like already making like musicals and plays and stuff about the first one, so he kept writing, and he got to like the sixth one, and he's like, I'm pretty much done. And then he quote had some financial problems, so then he wrote another whatever, like 7, yeah. And
he
then
died.
he died, and then they kept writing them until there's 40, and they are known as the Fabulous 40, which are the canonical true word of the
Land of
Wizard
Oz.
of Oz. L. Frank Baum at some point called himself the royal he was like the royal historian of Oz, I believe. He kind of did the thing.
He did the token thing.
He did
Yeah, so
the
he tried to be a
Tolkien thing.
Tolkien.
Okay.
Well, this was before Tolkien.
So Tolkien was
also-
trying to be a bomb.
Yeah, but also I just want to point out he did not do it in the way that like he had a big immersive storyland that he was bringing to life through his books. He was just really making it up as he
So
went along.
there is no Ozian Silmarillion.
Not any kind that you would care to get into.
Okay.
So
All right.
I have decided then to mostly focus on the first 13 books as the one that
Sure.
L. Frank Baum wrote.
I'm down for that.
But I will dip into the other ones if it's funny.
Is this
Um,
kind of like
sure.
like the Old and New Testament situation that I've heard so
It's-
much about?
It's basically nothing like that.
Okay.
Everything's a little Old and New Testament when you get down to it.
Yeah, everything's a little bit like that. But we're going to get in it. Basically, I've set this up as sort of a character study. So, in case you haven't seen Wicked, there will be some spoilers in case you don't want to be spoiled on the second movie because you haven't read any of the books or seen the award-winning musical or listened to the award-winning musical soundtrack or just heard people talk about it or whatever.
Weren't the Wicked
and
books
there-
themselves like a trilogy?
I know there's several of them. I actually know very little about the Wicked books, and so all of my
Except that
knowledge
they're
of Wicked,
It's from the
All
first
of-
movie.
all of
That's
my
only-
knowledge of Wicked will be I've seen the musical.
Oh, okay.
On
So it's not just act
musical
1 of
stage.
2.
No, I know all of the lore there too, and that's why I'm here because I think a lot of people think that is the truth about the Wizard of Oz, but it's not. It's all
all
lies.
propaganda.
That's right. So I've set it up in the same way that Wicked has kind of redefined many of the characters that you know and love in The Wizard of Oz. I'm going to approach this as kind of a character study, and I have a series of questions that I've given you multiple choice answers to.
Oh, wonderful. 1 and 4.
Yeah. And
Excellent.
I am going to ask you various questions about the background characters of The Wizard of Oz. And you'll all answer all the questions because I don't have enough for everyone to answer some questions. But you'll take turns going first.
Mm.
And whoever scores the most points win. And I've added extra rules to make it more interesting.
Okay.
If you answer the incorrect, if you get an incorrect answer and it is in fact the plot of Wicked, then I will subtract a point away from you.
All right.
So there's some of them do.
What if
have,
I accidentally choose it though? I have never seen Wicked.
Then that's still
And I
minus
still
point.
get
I'm
punished?
afraid. That's misinformation.
But I haven't even gotten the information yet.
But if before I reveal the answer, if you can tell me which one is from Wicked, I'll give you a bonus point.
Dude, this is just rigged.
Okay.
It's fine.
This is how we'll fight misinformation of the Wicked verse. I'm sure
Okay.
it's called.
Are you
highlighting
keeping
it.
score?
I think this will be. it'll be
I'll keep
helpful.
score. Yeah.
Okay.
In my cabeza.
Or do you need me to keep
I
score?
have a pad and paper.
I
One
have
of
a
you-
sticky note.
Either of you can keep score, or both do as well.
Okay.
I don't care.
Classic. Making the women
It's
do the work.
mostly-
Got
What?
it. All
It's-
right.
Making
What
the
makes
women
me think
do
I
the
won't
work.
keep
Making
score?
the women do your
Caesar?
fucking job.
It's mostly a framing device. All right. And then on top of that, I also let's first get our backstory straight. And I don't have any questions that are necessarily directly from the movie. So I might also go through the plot of the movie a little bit, along with what's different between the movie and the original book, which isn't much, except they kind of cut out this weird middle part and then stitched the first half and the last fourth together into the movie.
Which
Okay.
movie? Like the actual Wizard of Oz movie?
The Wizard of
Okay.
Oz movie.
All
the
right,
one
not
that-
Wicked. I'm like,
Okay.
Wicked's like a
the
prequel
very
situation.
famous one.
I
Okay.
get it. I'm
Yeah.
ready. Ask
All
me
right.
questions. I'll know.
All right. So let's start with a few of the fantastical characters from the Wizard of Oz. As we all know, at the beginning of Wizard of Oz, Dorothy comes down from a big tornado in the sky and lands on top of the Wicked Witch of the East, slaying her immediately.
Which is crazy with the Wicked context.
Right, but we'll get into that later. Don't worry.
Propaganda.
And
Not real.
So the Munchkins worship her as a savior to the people. For a quick bonus point, this is an open choice question for you guys. Why are the Munchkins so quickly to worship Dorothy as a white savior from the outside? Does anyone know the answer?
Weren't they like enslaved by the Wicked Witch of the East?
Okay, so they freed him from their slaver. Lizzie, do you have an answer?
They didn't know how to kill her.
Okay, they are ignorant
They felt that.
ignorant peasants.
Well, also that she came down from the sky.
Okay, and she
More of
came
like an
from the
angel
sky.
situation. Okay.
She like smote her.
Okay, cool. Ethan, do you have any guesses?
I'm gonna guess that she arrived in this world in a way similar to Oz, and so they were like, "Oh, like that guy."
Okay, you're all slightly correct, but you're all wrong because the reason is because she was wearing a blue and white dress, and the Munchkins associate blue with Munchkins because that's their color, and only good witches wear white.
Oh,
So they
solid.
immediately assumed that she was a good witch
Of the Munchkins.
that was well aligned with the Munchkins.
Why are the
Okay.
Munchkins associated with blue?
They just
Well,
love it.
Don't worry, honey. We'll get into that when we explore the land of Oz
Okay.
on a much greater level.
I'm sure that really was delved into like book 6,
Sure.
where it is just
Actually,
like the Lollipop Guild.
Fran, I thought you read the first book.
I did when I was like
Well,
10.
They delved into it in the first book,
Oh,
silly
okay.
girl.
Well, once again,
All
that's
right.
over 20 years ago.
So all the Munchkins are like, get on out of here, go down the old yellow brick road, and go find the wizard, right? As we all know, the first companion that Dorothy meets on this beautiful journey is the Scarecrow. And so let's get into our first deep dive of the character, the Scarecrow. The question, let's do Fran, you'll start,
Okay.
and then Ethan, and then Lizzie, and then we'll go Ethan, Lizzie, Fran, and then Lizzie, Fran, Ethan, and then repeat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Fran, how did the Scarecrow become the Scarecrow? A, the Wicked Witch of the West cast a spell on a man to make him impervious to harm. B, he was stuffed with magically spun golden hay that granted him great knowledge. C, he is the reincarnated soul of a Chinese emperor. Or D, he's just a fucking scarecrow.
I'm gonna go with A.
The Wicked Witch cast a spell to make him impervious to harm. Okay. Ethan?
Because he had like a wish or some nonsense.
I feel like I don't know what the answer is, but I'm going to say that A is actually the Wicked plot.
Oh.
Okay.
Trying to call it out.
Interesting. All right. And then what do you think is the right answer?
Let's go with D. He's a fucking scarecrow.
He's just a fucking scarecrow. All right. Great.
Can
Lizzie,
I
do you have
call
an
out
answer?
that the Chinese emperor one or whatever is actually the Wicked plot? Because I think it's funny.
Okay.
That's
Okay,
insane,
great.
but okay.
All right. Great.
I'm going to say that the right answer is that he is a Chinese emperor.
Mm.
I believe he has that power in him.
Okay.
And the real plot is, so that was C, and then the wicked plot, I mean, is A.
Okay. Lizzie and Ethan, you've both accurately deduced the
Damn.
plot of Wicked.
And I've lost a point.
Unfortunately, Fran, that means you get a negative point.
Ah.
Indeed, in the plot of Wicked, that one prince that the witch loves is gonna get like stabbed to death.
What's his
or
name?
some
Fiero?
shit. Yeah, I don't know. And so she tries to cast a spell on him to make him impervious to harm, but that turns him into a scarecrow. And actually, kind of a double twist is that originally in the books, she just thought that happened, but then it turned out the scarecrow was just a fucking scarecrow. She thought that guy was the guy that she loved, but then she had her she had the monkeys or whatever tear him apart in that one scene, and then she's like, oh, he's just a fucking scarecrow.
Mm-hmm.
Wild.
And then Lizzie and Ethan, I'm gonna give you both points.
What?
Because in the original, he's just a fucking scarecrow that they like drew eyes on, and he gains sentience. But then in one of the canon yet books that came out after the original author Baum died, there was an ancient emperor named Chang Wang Wo.
Oh God.
who was
Chang
I
Wang
forgot this was the early
Wo.
1900s.
Yeah, it really was.
Oh, God.
Who was the emperor of the Silver Islands, who are at war with the Gold Islands.
Mhm.
And the Silver Islands won the war, but then a wizard from the Gold Islands turned the emperor, Chang Wang Wo, from the Silver Islands into a flower. And then his wife, the empress, was so sad that she watered the flower with her tears and planted it into the ground. And then the flower sprouted so deep in the ground that it went all the way through the ground and came out the other side as a beanpole in the land of Oz. And there was a prophecy that the first thing that touches the beanpole will inherit the spirit of Chang Wang Wo, who was a wise and noble emperor. And the first thing that touched the beanpole was the scarecrow.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so
Did they get 2
Typical.
points or 1
Uh-huh.
point?
What a
So
stereotype.
I'll give you both a point. You're technically, I think Ethan's the most correct because Baum said he was just a fucking scarecrow.
But he was an emperor also.
I feel like so this is Am I gonna end up like liking the Wicked interpretation by the end of this, where I'll be like, well, they had some pretty bad source material, so I guess what can you do?
I don't know, Ethan. I guess that'll be for you to decide
All
in
right,
our
well, you
final
started
judgment
with
round.
the Chinese Emperor Beanpole, so not great.
All right, that was a fun little jaunt into the Scarecrow. We might hear about him a little bit later in the lineup, but nice job, Ethan and Lizzie, starting out with a commanding lead. Let's go to our next question. We're going to move around a little bit because this is not how the order. Well, no, let's do it in order. Let's pretend we're Dorothy and we're meeting these wonderful characters for the first time.
Okay.
So, as we all know, after Dorothy befriends the Scarecrow, she carries on her journey where she finds the Tin Man, who's become rusted and is in need of oil to make him mobile again. And she helps him out, and the Tin Man says, darn, I need a heart. And she's like, well, come with us. We're going to go see the wizard, and he is going to grant us all wishes. Surely he could give you a heart. So my question for you guys is, how did the Tin Man become the Tin Man? A, he was constructed by the wizard as a prototype soldier, but he would not follow orders because he was too gosh darn empathetic, and he just didn't want to fight other people. B, he was once a man who was chopped into pieces and rebuilt piece by piece, a la the ship of Theseus. Sort of chop off an arm, add a metal arm. Chop off a leg, add a metal leg.
Wow, that's wild. Wild, if true.
C, he was once a man that the Wicked Witch of the East loved and tried to cast a love spell on, but it failed. So to save him, he was transmuted into a Tin Man. And D, he was constructed by Munchkin children a la Frosty the Snowman and was imbued with the sentience of an ancient woodcutter when they gave him an axe that they found in the woods. Ethan, I believe you get to go first this time.
I hate all of these answers.
I think these are all pretty good, especially since, statistically most of them are made up by me. I kind of
right.
I'm chuffed about that.
So I'm gonna say I feel like I'm in tune with Wicked.
Okay,
and
you feel like you're getting it.
Yeah, and so C is obviously a red herring. Fucking A is from Wicked. The Oz was making Soldier Boys.
Okay.
Because CJ loves the ship of Theseus. He would use any excuse to make up a ship of Theseus story.
I specifically put two things in here that have the word Allah in it, though. So, does CJ love the ship of Theseus more than he loves Frosty the Snowman?
I'm going to go with Frosty the Snowman.
Okay. You think that A is the Wicked and D is the correct. Okay. Lizzie, what do you think, my darling?
I think C is the plot of Wicked.
Okay.
That he had the Wicked Witch of the East gave him the love potion. And I think D is the correct answer.
Also picking D as the correct answer. Fran?
Can you restate C for me?
Okay, C is, he was once a man that the Wicked Witch of the East loved and tried to cast a love spell on, but it failed, so to save him, he was transmuted into a Tin Man.
That sounds very fan fiction-y, so I'm going to go with that's Wicked. I'm going to say Ship of Theseus. Man.
Okay, well, I've got great news for you, Fran. Right on both parts.
No!
The correct answer is he was once a man who was chopped into pieces and was rebuilt out of the ship of Theseus. And in fact, in Wicked, the person that loves the good witch of the South is forced to date the Wicked Witch of the East, but we don't know she's the Wicked Witch of the East until we get to the next movie. And then she tries to cast a love potion on him, but it fails and it makes his heart shrink and he's going to die. And so the only way to save him is the Wicked Witch of the West turns him into a Tin Man who doesn't need a heart to live.
Stupid!
But then
fan fiction.
What actually happened is that the Tin Man who is a woodcutter. He was in love with a woman, but that woman was in service to the Wicked Witch of the East. And so the Wicked Witch of the East cast a curse on his axe to chop him into pieces. And so his axe started hacking him into pieces.
Oh, that's
but
fucked
then
up.
the local tinsmith named Kuklip forged tin replacement parts for his body and reassembled him into the Tin Man. But unfortunately, he could not give him a heart. And that is why he needs a heart.
Thanks, Kuklip, the true hero.
Yeah, the tinsmith.
Damn.
The fucking Frankenstein.
Yeah, very scary. But let's dig deeper into our friend the Tin Man, because we know he went on his adventure with Dorothy. He found out that he didn't need a heart all along. He actually had his heart inside of him. And
Thanks, Kuklip.
And so in one of the sequel books, he returns to the spot where Dorothy originally found him, because he wants additional answers to his past. The question I have for you, Lizzie, what did the Tin Man find when he returned to the place where Dorothy found him? Did he find A, the tinsmith who made him, Kuklip? Did he find B, his lady love? Did he find C, the cowardly lion was waiting to reunite with him? Or did he find D, another second Tin Man?
Whoa. Wait, who are you saying is his love? Or are you just saying his love?
I am just saying that there's a girl that he loves. I don't know.
Another one?
What do you mean? Oh no, the original one. The one that he loved in the first place. Yeah, sorry, the one that he loved in the first place. Her name was Nimmy Amy. I just thought it was a stupid name.
Nimmy Amy.
Nimmy Amy.
Who wouldn't love her? The name like that. So wait, he comes.
He returns to the place where Dorothy found him after the adventure. After Dorothy goes back to Kansas. And did he find A, the tinsmith who made him, Kuklip? Did he find his lady love, Nimmy Amy? Did he find the cowardly lion waiting to reunite with him? Or did he find another Tin Man?
That would be crazy if he saw the cowardly lion there, because he was like, hey, I just saw you. And it's like, yeah, I was waiting for you back at your house. It's like, well, we could have traveled together.
I see me with you, you know.
I omitted some other stuff that happened.
So there's technically some
books,
space
right?
between.
So.
Yeah,
okay.
It wasn't. I wasn't gonna. I was gonna go into this a little bit later, but basically, all of the people who traveled with Dorothy inherit a kingdom at the end of their travels. But we'll talk about that later. So they were all.
This sucks ass, dude.
They were all ruling their respective kingdoms.
Okay. Because I think it would be nice, I'm going to say that he finds Kuklip waiting for him to meet his maker / person who saved him.
Okay, very good.
I don't know. Are we still doing plot of Wicked?
Not all of them have a wicked plot.
I don't know, so I'm not going to answer.
If you erroneously say that,
I'll just say that I think he sees Kuklip.
Okay, you think he finds Kuklip. Fran, what do you think?
After knowing that he got Theseus by his own fucking axe, I would like him to have like a nice little movie ending of seeing his love.
Okay,
that he got chopped for.
You think it's Nimmy Amy?
I hope.
I don't think The Wizard of Oz has happy endings. It's just kind of cyclical, weird shit happening and causing other things.
But I can be hopeful.
Sure.
All right, Ethan.
I think your answer is more plausible.
I think Nimmy Amy, for the more cynical reason that CJ wouldn't make up a name as stupid as Nimmy Amy, so it must be real.
Well, I didn't.
Well, her name's real.
She's a real character, but unfortunately, all of you are wrong this time because
the lion?
when the Tin Man returned to where Dorothy found him, he in fact found another Tin Man.
Holy shit!
Whoa!
That's right. A second Tin Man.
Sup, bruh?
I'm like, I was gonna say, are they brothers or are they?
So
Did he always get chopped by his own axe?
This man was originally named Captain Fighter.
Captain Fighter.
Kind of like Major.
Sounds like
Kuklip just does this to people.
that sounds like
helping. Okay.
Captain
a 10-year-old named his like toy soldier. This is Captain Fighter.
So they're all spelled wrong. So when I say their names to you, just assume that the names are spelled wrong.
Okay.
So it's Fyter.
Okay.
That's pretty cool.
So it turns out Captain Fighter also fell in love with Nimmy Amy, and so the Wicked Witch of the East cast a spell on his sword to chop him into pieces, and Kuklip
She only got
put
one.
him back together
thing.
with tin pieces to create a second Tin Man.
When? Because the Wicked Witch of the East got smashed by a house.
Eventually she did, but she did other stuff first. She did a lot of other stuff before that happened.
Yeah, but
I'm now imagining Kuklip
Thank goodness
as
Kuklip is around.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm imagining Kuklip as a horror monster now. It's just like he fucking transforms people into golems. He's
he's a little Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah,
but he's trying to help. Okay, Kuklip's
he is trying to help.
Yeah,
He
which
keeps
makes
them
it
alive.
right no matter what.
You're right.
All right. Well, in that note,
Your ex-girlfriend killed you. You want to still be alive, but as like a robot man, don't you?
So in this book, which as you might imagine, this book was centered more around the Tin Man specifically. The Tin Man seeks out Nimmy Amy in order to see if she will love him now that he
is a Tin Man.
I mean, well, he doesn't have a heart, but he like realizes that his heart is like a metaphor, kind of, you know. And
It's
so,
okay, babe. My heart's a metaphor.
And so throughout this book,
Is
he's
your
actually
dick a metaphor?
throughout this book, he is trying to find his lady love, Nimmy Amy. And at the end of the book, after teaming up with the second Tin Man and going through a big adventure and stuff, they eventually find her. And the Tin Man and Captain Fighter, who's the other Tin Man.
I love that they adventured together.
Because
they're probably like
bros.
Did this happen to you too? Oh my god,
they're bros in love.
Well, they're both competing over the same girl, but they want to find her, and they're like trying to figure out who deserves to be with her, and they're like, well, we'll just let her decide who she wants to be with.
Okay.
What a crazy thought! What a maddening.
That seems a very man thing to do.
So at the end of their journey, they find Nimmy Amy, and my question for you, Fran, is: who did Nimmy Amy choose to be her lover?
Mm-hmm.
Is it A, the Tin Man, B, the second Tin Man, Captain Fighter,
I really hope there's a third.
C, a horrible Frankenstein's monster of their discarded body parts,
Ooh,
or D,
Whoa.
the Tinsmith Kuklip?
Oh my god.
I hope it's Kuklip.
You think it's the
I think it's
Tinsmith
Kuklip.
Kuklip? You think this was some sort of long con?
It's just it turns out that the other
She just likes a man who's good with his hands.
yeah.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't? Ethan, what do you think?
I'm gonna have to go with the Frankenstein's monster, CJ.
The horrible Frankenstein monsters of discarded body parts. Okay. Lizzie, what would you say?
I'm going to say she gets with Captain Fighter. I wish an answer was the boys decide they love each other more than the girl based on the bonds they've made along the way.
Is that the plot of Wicked?
That's what
that
Wicked
should be the
is
plot
for.
of Wicked.
That's pretty close.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah, that would have been more of a.
I'm going to say she pulls a fast one and is like Captain Fighter.
Okay, she loved him all along.
Yeah.
The answer is, of course, C, a horrible Frankenstein's monster of their discarded body parts. In fact,
I kind of suspected that, but I didn't want it to be that.
I didn't want that either. I wanted a third Tin Man, actually, was what I wanted.
That would be very funny. As the Tinsmith Kuklip was sort of collecting the various body parts from all these Tin Men, he was able to reassemble the human body parts into a man who eventually became known as Chop Fit. And Nimmy Amy fell in love with Chopfit, and the two of them absconded together to go live in the forest. And that is where the two Tin Men found her, living with their combined old body parts as a man, and she decided that she just wants to keep doing that instead of taking on
hey
one
babe,
of these
what's
Nubios.
up? Whoa, are you sleeping with an amalgamation of myself and my bro? That's crazy.
At one point, so Captain Fighter's
Clip's
head
doing a lot of
is
stuff, man.
Captain Fighter's head is eventually the head of Chopfit, and
Chopfit sounds like slap chop,
and
like
the
kitchen tool. The Chopfit.
The Tin Man
That
finds
doesn't mean
his
the Bowflex thing.
the Tin Man finds his old head, and he finds it to be pretty like quarrelsome, and he like argues with it a lot, and so he just kind of leaves it behind.
That's
okay.
cute. My favorite part of the Ship of Theseus question is, what if the parts that you took off of the Ship of Theseus to replace were later put together into a different Ship of Theseus,
Isn't that the real question?
Which
of the
is
Ship
more
of Theseus?
romantically attractive to women.
Yeah, well, then a metal man. Yeah,
I mean, if he's made of flesh.
Well,
there are robot fuckers out there, though.
I mean,
she got to. It sounds like it was both, like the best parts of both. Because it sounds like maybe Captain Fighter's head wasn't nearly as like quarrelsome. You know what I mean?
I do think you're probably right, Fran.
Maybe one had better biceps. The wood chopper probably had some better biceps than Captain Fighter.
Dicks.
So we got to like those arms instead.
Better than one dick.
She really
he can have
her
she can have
build
two
a
dicks.
man.
This is
Build
great.
a boy.
Ethan's in a pretty commanding lead. What's the score right now?
I wasn't very clear on your scoring directives for
I'm in the
wicked
lead!
questions. So
For
maybe
which
Ethan?
ones?
Well, for that first
It makes
question,
sense that Ethan is winning.
I think it's
based on-
Ethan. Do we
Ethan
get
got
so
two-
if they got the wicked
Ethan-
points, that's another point though,
That's
right?
an X. That's a bonus point. Yeah.
So I think Ethan has 3.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's what
Lizzie
I have,
has.
Lizzie.
What do you have, Lizzie?
I have Lizzie with 2, and
I
have
didn't.
you with
I
1.
knew Fran was doing it. So
Oh, okay. That sounds
That's
good
fine.
to me.
All right. Well, then I got
3, 2,
3, 2, 1.
All right, easy peasy. This is great. So we now that we know a little bit more about our traveling companions, we all know that they eventually get to go see the wizard, who grants their wish, kinda.
Kinda.
In the original book, when they get to the Wizard of Oz, he doesn't just appear as a giant head.
Mm-hmm.
He switches his form based on what he thinks the person he's looking at is more afraid of.
Sure.
So he sees them all individually. And then he's trying to be like as fearsome as possible, but because he's like not a real wizard, he's a fake wizard, he gets them mixed up. So when the Scarecrow goes to him, he appears as a sexy lady who is supposed to make the Tin Man scared because he doesn't have a heart. And when he appears to the Tin Man, he appears as a great and powerful beast who's supposed to scare the Cowardly Lion.
Sure.
And then when he appears to the Cowardly Lion, he appears as a big ball of fire. He's supposed to scare the Scarecrow.
That's fair. Blamable.
So he gets them all mixed up.
Classic wizard.
What a blunder.
In the book, the first time they meet him, they are they don't actually get their wish granted. He tells them that they have to go and defeat the Wicked Witch of the West, and in order to get their wishes granted. And so they have a whole other plot that is omitted from the movie because it's kind of weird. I guess the whole thing's kind of weird, but this is also pretty weird. But before we get into that, let's do some more questions.
Yes.
When the wizard grants the wishes, quote unquote, of each of the companions, Scarecrow wants a brain, Tin Man wants a heart, Cowardly Lion wants some courage. He gives them an object that is supposed to like imbue them with the thing that they want. Even though we as the audience know that the lesson is they all had those attributes all along and they just needed the confidence to believe in it and all that stuff.
Whoa.
But he's kind of like con man tricking them into believing that this object is giving them the thing that they ask for.
Right.
So this one, the slightly different rules, because this doesn't really happen in Wicked. I'm going to list off 4 things. You will tell me what the wizard gives that companion, what he gives them in the book to make them feel like they have the thing that they want. And then there is a bonus point if you can tell me the thing that he gives them in either the movie or the stage play musical. They're the same.
Okay.
So one of the things he gives them in the book, one of the things he gives them in the movie / musical, and the other 2 are big phonies.
All right.
Got it?
Okay.
Who's starting this round? Ethan? That's fun.
Yeah.
All right, Ethan. So the Scarecrow comes to the wizard and he wants a brain. What does the wizard give to the Scarecrow to make him think he has a brain? Is it a hacky sack that he sewed together that he puts in the Scarecrow's head to make him think he has a brain?
That's dumb.
Is it a diploma because he says that the only thing separating stupid people from smart people is a diploma? Is it glasses?
Republican?
Is it glasses because he says that the only thing that makes people think you're smart is if you look smart, and glasses make you look smart? Or does he give him a thesaurus because he says the only difference between stupid people and smart people is that smart people use fancy words, and so he can use the thesaurus to use fancy words instead of dumb words?
Shit, what was B again?
The second one was a diploma
Yes.
because the only difference between a smart person and a stupid person is a diploma.
That, like, yeah, that just like reeks to me of folksy, fuck educated people.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'm gonna say that was the one in the book.
Okay. Do you have a guess for the play, or the musical, or the movie?
Well, it's I've seen the movie, so it's wild that I don't have even the slightest recollection.
Yeah, that's kind of the premise of this whole thing. Is I really get the impression. I really get the impression none of you played the Wizard in your high school rendition of Wizard of Oz, whereas I have inexorably played the Wizard in a high school rendition of the Wizard of Oz, which is also why I know how to sell each of these items as a potential thing that could work, because that was my whole thing I had to do.
Also, if you know CJ, it's just like so unsurprising to know that about him. That he played the Wizard in the Wizard of Oz in high school.
Yeah, a little background lore on me, my bona fides. Do you have a guess for the movie?
Let's say the thesaurus.
The thesaurus, all right. Fran or Lizzie?
I'm going to say I'll say he gives him in the book. He gives him I'll say he gives him the diploma in the book.
In the book.
I'm gonna say in the musical he gives him the hacky sack.
Okay. And then Fran?
I'm going to go with, in the book, it's the hacky sack. Because he's like, this is definitely a brain. Shove it in there. And then I feel like movie stage play is the diploma, because propaganda.
All right, Fran, that's 2 points for you and 0 points for the other two. Indeed, in the book, he just throws together a sack with like beans and beads and like pins and shit, and like sews it together and puts it in the Scarecrow's head and says, I've given you a brain now. And then indeed in the stage play and musical, he gives them a diploma, because a diploma is the only thing separating smart people from stupid people. keeping in mind, Ethan, that the play was written and the movie was directed in 1939 or something. So
yeah,
it's still oldie time.
The same spirit. Yeah.
All right. Next up, the Tin Man. He, of course, desires a heart because he just wants to care about things, but they find out all along that he was actually the most caring throughout the whole journey. But he still asks the wizard to give him a heart. So, Ethan.
No, it's my turn.
No, it's Lizzie. Sorry. Lizzie. Does the wizard give him a hacky sack filled with a bunch of garbage that he puts into his chest and says, "This is your heart now"? Does he give him a big snuggly coat that he can wear so that he can hug things without it being so hard and tin-like? Does he give him a poetry book because he obviously felt these feelings all the time, but he just needed the words to describe them? Or does he give him a watch that just kind of looks like a heart and he says, "Here you go, you have a heart now"?
I'm going to say in the book he gives him the watch.
Okay.
Because it ticks or beats,
sure.
I guess.
That is very heart-like, yes.
And then in the musical it gives him a book of poetry.
Okay. Fran, do you have an answer or two?
I think the Tin Man also got a sack full of random crap.
Okay, you're running it back with the hacky sack full of garbage.
Once again, this man's an improviser.
And he's like, surely this won't work twice.
Right. That would be crazy.
He's a classic wizard blundering, I think, is kind of where we're at with that. So I'm going to go with that. And I think the movie stage play is the watch for the same reason that Lizzie said. I think that's a very good on-screen metaphor of a ticking, beating heart kind of thing.
Okay. And you, Ethan?
Yeah, I also feel like I vaguely remember it being a watch in the movie.
Okay.
In the book, I'm gonna go with the warm fuzzy coat. What for hugging?
Okay, that one was the weakest one that I made up.
I really hope, because if he had that, he would roll up to the second Tin Man with that big old coat, just like
that would be dope with his good grip. Yeah. No, the correct answer, of course, is it is a hacky sack filled with random garbage that he
does work again.
throws together at the last minute and stuffs inside the Tin Man.
Back.
And then, of course, in the movie, he has a big watch-shaped heart that he wears where his heart is. That is 2 points for Fran. So close, Lizzie. But you got him mixed up, I'm afraid.
And you think it's one point?
Ethan gets a single point for the watch that looks like a heart. That is a pretty iconic thing.
I really thought my author instincts would get me further than this.
This guy,
author to author. However, I remembered
this guy's
all authors are just making up nonsense.
Yeah. Okay. And now finally we get to the Cowardly Lion, who of course wants some courage. But it turns out that although he was afraid the whole adventure, courage is not the absence of fear, but the action in the face of fear. However, he still wants something from the wizard. And so, Fran, what does the wizard give to the Cowardly Lion to represent his courage? Is it a hacky sack filled with a bunch of random garbage? Is it straight up liquor, because that makes you courageous?
Liquid courage.
Is it a sword? Because as long as you have a sword, you don't need to be afraid. Or is it a medal? Because as long as you have a medal, you don't need to be afraid.
Another strategy I've been using is trying to imagine a high school CJ playing the wizard and seeing which one he could pawn the best of the four for the stage play movie version. So I'm going to go with the medal for that one.
Medal for the stage play version.
Yeah, stage play version. And, comedy's best in rule of threes. So I'm going to go with a hacky sack full of random shit. So that's going to be my answer for the book.
Fran's running it back for the comedy. All right, Ethan, what do you think?
What was B?
B was just straight up liquor. He just says, if you drink this, it'll make you brave.
That's the book one for sure.
Okay.
It's like 1900,
Sure.
And then I feel like I vaguely recall it being a medal in the movie, so I'm going to go with that.
Okay. Lizzie?
Yeah, I actually think I'm going to go with the same answer as Fran.
The hacky sack in the
medal?
All right. Good news, everybody gets a point. Better news, Ethan gets 2 points. That's right. The wizard gives him a cup, and he says, "All you got to do is drink this courage juice, and you will be filled with courage." And everyone believes that, based on how he acts after he drinks it, he is in fact just drinking liquor. And the fact that he's a charlatan from Omaha, Nebraska, means that that's probably what he did. And then, indeed, in the movie, he gets a medal of bravery because medals make you brave.
God. This has made me think of the Futurama Wizard of Oz episode, and I remember the silly gifts he gives at the end there, but honestly, they're about on par with these.
Yes. That's why I picked a sword, because I known that one. He said, a gun.
Who needs courage when you have a gun?
I've never related to the liquid courage thing for alcohol, because I feel like maybe it's because I have anxiety disorder, but like alcohol only makes me scared more.
Oh, poor honey. Well, it has the intended effects on me. So, let's go on and take a step back now and get back into the world of Oz. As we know, the land of Oz seems to be a pretty mystical place. There's all sorts of witches and wizards and
munchkins,
munchkins, ambulant
talking animals,
tin men, talking animals, all sorts of fun things.
Clip.
So I have a question now for Ethan about the land of Oz itself. Ethan, where is Oz? Is Oz? Where is Oz? Is Oz? It's heaven, like in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Is Narnia is?
I don't think is Narnia heaven?
Yep.
I know there's Jesus lying there, so I guess that kind of makes sense. Okay,
it's heaven.
We'll do that later.
It's heaven. It's heaven. It's heaven at the end.
Okay.
They find out it's heaven. They figure out that their older two siblings can't go there anymore.
Because they died?
I remember.
Or they didn't die? Oh, hold on.
Yeah, they can't. They can't go there.
Lore that
they can't go there anymore because they died in the real world, and you can't get back into the kingdom of heaven until like the rapture.
I did know that Peter and Susan couldn't come back because Susan got into boys and dressing.
No,
boys.
it's actually because they died.
Oh,
turns out in the last book.
Oh boy. Okay, we'll have to do that episode later.
They died. Yeah, they died in like a train accident.
But being a slut didn't help.
So that's not gonna.
I do remember it being pretty clear, and I was like,
"Oh my god,
this is
shoulders."
I thought
turned weirdly sexist there.
Who knew Narnia would be so sexist?
All right, but we're not talking about Narnia. We're talking about Oz. Is Oz? It's heaven, like the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Is Oz?
That'd be crazy.
Is Oz? It's on the other side of the flat Earth.
It's flat Earth. Can I answer now?
Is Oz a fairy demiplane that exists outside of our reality? Or is Oz in Africa surrounded by deadly deserts and thus impossible to reach?
Those are all bad, but
okay, rude.
I feel in my heart that it's the opposite side of the flat Earth.
Okay, very good. Fran or Lizzie, do you have an answer?
I want to just do a different answer. I wanted to say the flat Earth answer as well. I'm going to say it's in Africa.
Okay, in Africa, surrounded by deadly deserts, so it's impossible to reach. Okay,
yes.
And then Fran.
That was my answer. Was that this feels like a very early 1900s interpretation of the world of like, but no one can get there because it's in Africa. No one knows what's going on there.
All right, now that those have been answered, can I say instead of wicked? That's from Wakanda. Is that answer?
Oh yeah, sure. It is. It's kind of the same vibe.
It's just next door.
Is that all of your answers then? Your answers are 2 of you say Africa and 1 of you say Wakanda. All right. I hate to tell you guys, but you got no points on this round.
Is it actually a demiplane?
So originally, I'm looking at a map right now. The land, you can't look at it, honey.
Sorry, it was a bizarre map.
You're gonna ruin. Yeah, it looks like like baby's first.
It's okay because like I really
map.
could. It looked like a flag, honestly, like the arrangement.
It is a fairy demiplane. The author Bums. He said that it exists in a fairy-like realm or a fae realm that it is kind of separate. So I mean, he literally was making like a fairy story.
Okay.
D&D campaign set in Oz.
Oh my god, that would be Pog, and probably someone's already made a system for that.
Perfect.
Although I will give you everyone who said in Africa surrounded by deadly deserts a half a point because in some of the later books they did imply that Oz was a place that you could reach, but you could not get there because it was surrounded by deadly deserts. And it was a place on physical Earth, but Baum kind of pushed back against that because they were kind of figuring that out while he was still alive, and he said, "Nah, I think it's just a fairy realm that that you can kind of get to in various ways."
Mm-hmm. Well, in a way, it is a place you can get to on Earth, quote unquote, or through Earth,
right?
But it's very hard to get to.
It ain't easy being that guy. Okay, so looking now at the Land of Oz, Lizzie, don't look at my screen. Although you kind of already saw it, so you might have been spoiled. But indeed, the Land of Oz, as fantastical as it is, does look like it was made by a kid making their first D&D campaign, trying to make a fantasy land for their characters to live in.
Before we had those sweet like map generators things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So keeping in mind that it is indeed surrounded on all sides by an impassable, deadly desert.
Mm-hmm.
For a quick bonus point,
which appears in Wicked.
Yeah, sure. Great.
It does.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I believe you.
For a quick bonus point, what's the shape of the Land of Oz? Ethan, what's the shape of the Land of Oz?
I mean, it's shaped like a penis.
Yeah, it's shaped like a big dick and balls. Is that your answer, Ethan?
Wait, this one's not multiple choice?
No, this one's more open-ended.
Just right off my cranium. Yeah, I think that's probably it.
It's like a big shaft. Okay, Lizzie, what do you think? What does Oz look like?
Well, I kind of glanced at it, but I mostly saw colors, so I will say this is not really informed by...
I mean, you're in last, so I'll give you a little bit too.
I mean, I'm still not looking.
Yeah, all right. What shape is Oz?
I'll say it's like kind of rhombus diamond shaped.
Okay, a rhomboid.
Yeah.
Sure. Fran, what shape is Oz?
Triangular?
Oh, that's a good guess. That's a good shape. I'm gonna have to give this bonus point to Lizzie. The Land of Oz is almost perfectly rectangular.
Okay, yeah.
It looks very similar to just the state of Kansas, quite honestly.
You mean there's no bite taken out of the top right of it?
All right, sure.
There is a little like
I see some wild things on the screen over there.
There's a little doodad. Yeah, the Land of Oz is in fact made up of 4 distinct regions: to the west, the east, the north, and the south. And then the land is bisected along its 2 diagonals into those 4 regions. And then right at the middle of the 4 regions is the seat of power to the Land of Oz, which is of course the Emerald City. And so the Munchkins live to the west, obviously ruled over by the Wicked Witch of the West. The Winkies in Winky Country live to the east.
Very Teletubby.
Dominated over by the Wicked Witch of the East. The Quadlings to the south are ruled by Glinda, the Good Witch of the South.
Sounds scary.
Wait, I thought Glinda was north.
Nope. And
I haven't watched Wicked, so.
And the Gillikins are to the north, and they are ruled over by another wicked witch named Mooby.
Mooby?
No.
Mooby?
And I'm sorry, CJ, I'm going to have to dock a point on that one. That is not correct.
I'm sorry to say, Ethan, or it's Moby. It's one of the two, but yeah, it's something stupid like that.
The electronica artist.
I just want to say I was looking at the map on CJ's screen as well, and there are countries beyond the impassable desert shown on that map.
Yeah.
And I was reading things like Country of Gargoyles.
Oh.
And
I like
Land or Kingdom of Nine, but like IX, like Roman numeral.
Okay.
Sure.
One thing that says,
I mean, it's probably the kingdom
something
of
that says Lolland Hilland.
Lolland.
Is that where?
Lolland Hilland?
I think it's supposed to be the lowland, but there's no W, and the highland.
Lowland and Highland, you're probably right.
But yeah.
Then there's Maryland and also Dominion of the Gnome King.
Yeah, there's the dominions of the Gnome King.
This all sounds like a great D&D campaign. Let's go through all of them.
He'll actually come
also
up very
one
shortly.
that says Bobland.
Yeah, there's the Bobo Land.
Oh, okay. It looks like the Bobland.
Bobo.
Boba. Oh, wait, hold on.
All right,
I'm
so much more
Boba D's
interested.
But unfortunately, you cannot get to those lands from Oz because there is the impassable desert.
Too bad, because there are some cool sounding places.
I want to
there.
go to Gargoyle Land.
It's way cooler than that. For a quick bonus point, open-ended question. If any of you can answer, I'll be super surprised.
Okay.
How come there are wizards and witches and magic and shit in the land of Oz, but not in Kansas?
Because it's a demi-plane of fairies. What?
Okay.
Is that not
Wrong.
what we just... Okay.
Wrong. Ethan,
But you just
do
said
have an
it's a
answer?
demi-plane.
That's not why, though, Fran.
I'm gonna guess that when the white man settled Kansas, all of the magic of that land had to leave, and it all settled.
That's interesting, and honestly kind of close. Lizzie, can you get closer to the right answer?
Because because magic is sourced
friendship.
from I was gonna say magic is friendship's magic. Magic is sourced from the goodness and happiness of the land which there's none in Kansas.
You're getting
That's
further.
fair.
You know what? Ethan, I'll give you a point for that. The reason is because Kansas is civilized country and Oz is an uncivilized country, and they haven't invented civilization really, and so
but they
have a seat of power.
I'm just telling you what they told me.
So wait, we can have magicians if we just
as long
get
as we
rid of our
revert to the
government.
ancient
Wait a
ways.
second.
Anarchy reigns.
That's basically
Sweet.
true. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Good news. Let's talk a little bit more about the land of Oz. Who is the true leader of Oz? We know about the wizard who is in charge of the Wizard of Oz. We're wondering who the true leader of Oz is. Is the true leader of Oz the wizard? Is it Ozma, a different person? Is it Ozymandias, a different person? Or is it the Scarecrow? I don't remember whose turn it is to go first.
I think it's Fran.
I'll say.
Where in the
Fran.
timeline are we?
This is this is like when I say true leader, I mean like, who has divine right to rule over Oz. So it's kind of all it's kind of all time, I guess.
Is there a wicked bonus point on this one?
There is not, I don't think.
Okay.
I wouldn't say so. I don't actually know.
We're gonna go with no.
Really deserves to rule.
I feel like there's probably some bullshit as to why the Scarecrow is the divine ruler, because it's an uncivilized place and he's just a fucking scarecrow.
Sure.
We're gonna go with him.
All right. Ethan, do you have an answer?
I mean, God, I don't want to sound like a copycat, but I do feel like that's some dumb shit that would be correct. Like, that feels right in the wrongest way.
Okay. Lizzie, do you have an answer?
Well, damn, I also want to say the Scarecrow because I think I actually know it is the Scarecrow.
All right.
I feel like he ended up ruling at some point. I don't know.
And because of his
divine right.
Of the divine right of touching
the emperor.
He
the
touched
soul
the
of the
bean
Chinese
bowl,
emperor.
the beanstalk.
All right. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, you've all fallen for my tricky trap.
Damn.
Although the Scarecrow did rule Oz for a brief period,
not with divine right.
he is not the true leader of Oz.
So God came down and said, "You are not the true king of these lands." Simba.
So as we all know, the Wizard of Oz, whose name is just Oz.
Joe.
No, his name's Oz. And he goes by the name of Oz, and as a like circus side act kind of guy, he just happened to have his name on his big hot air balloon, which is Oz. So when he came down from the sky in a big hot air balloon that said Oz, everyone in Oz thought to themselves, this must be the guy who's supposed to lead us. In some of the earlier books, he actually usurps the sitting king of Oz. And he gets like banished, and he just dies off screen, I think. And so technically they kind of roll this back a little in the later ones to make it so that the wizard doesn't actually
murder
a
someone?
coup. Yeah, but so Oz is not the true leader. They just thought he might have been through his little mix-up. Ozymandias, of course, I believe is what was the leader of like the fucking ancient Babylonia for a while or something. And the Scarecrow is put in charge of Oz once the wizard ascends back into the sky at the end of the Wizard of Oz. He says, "It turns out, Scarecrow, you were the smartest one all along." And this goes along with Baum's themes of like, maybe not so good themes today, but the idea that the simple country folk is actually the smartest of us all because they have wisdom of the land, common knowledge, and that kind of stuff.
They know who to vote for.
Yeah.
This also sounds like us talking about, as you guys call them, the dirt ponies.
Yeah, exactly. And they're often overlooked because of their simplicity. And the Scarecrow and the Tin Man often have a lot of conversations about what's more important, like the heart or the mind. But neither of them comes to a conclusion. Meaning it's up for grabs what people think is more important. So the book never has to try and answer that heavy question. But
for the readers,
although the Scarecrow is the leader for a while, later they discovered that actually the old King of Oz had a daughter who's named Ozma, who is the true ruler of Oz. And so in a follow-up book, a young boy named Tip discovers that they need to find the true leader of Oz, because Oz is being beset by a horrible uprising. They are uprising against the Scarecrow and trying to do a big coup again now that the wizard's gone. And the Scarecrow's like, I don't even really want to be in charge. I just got put in charge.
Right, yeah.
I was just put here. I didn't ask for this.
So they go and beseech. They
go
and
figurehead.
Was he doing a bad job, or were they just like, we don't want to be ruled by no Scarecrow?
I was gonna say at the beginning that there was gonna be a secret rules that if you question my knowledge at any point and I didn't know the answer to it, that was actually gonna be minus a point.
Okay, well, thank God we didn't get to those rules.
You didn't know the rules yet, so that's fine. But don't do it again. So the Tip and his adventurers go to see the Tin Man, who is still allied, as you might imagine, with the Emerald City, and he now resides as the Emperor of Winky County to the east, where he lives in his castle of tin.
That's what my wife calls me.
Yeah.
The Emperor of Winky County.
Yeah. I bet she does. And so they're going to look for Ozma, who is the true leader, to kind of fix everything. They go to Glinda, the Good Witch of the South, and they're like, what do we do? And they're like, you have to go and confront Moby or whatever the fuck her name was, the Bad Witch of the North, because she knows something about it. And you got to go figure out what the deal is. So, my question for you, where is Ozma? Is Ozma A, secretly the Wicked Witch of the West who faked her death? B, is she in fantasy China, where the Scarecrow's from? Is she C, a boy now? Trans icon?
Nice.
Okay.
Or is she D, the Wizard of Oz's daughter?
I
Ethan.
think it's Ethan's turn, yeah.
Yeah, it's your turn.
This is another one where they all kind of suck. God. C.
Is a boy now?
Yeah.
Okay, they can't find her because she's a boy now.
Yeah.
Well, we can't have a woman lead the country or whatever.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. Thank
All
you,
right.
Fran.
That's why it has to be
Lizzie?
a boy.
I mean, it was my idea.
Right, of course.
I don't know. I'll say Oz's daughter now.
Okay, so Oz's daughter.
I'm going to go with it turns out she was in China the whole time.
Fantasy China. What a surprise. I gotta say, Ethan's on a roll. She got magically transformed into the boy Tip himself.
Oh my god.
That's right. Tip was looking for Ozma, and then once they confronted the Bad Witch of the North, they discovered that
He was Ozma.
Nuts, it was me the whole time.
They turned her into a boy, and she turns him back into a beautiful queen.
Oh.
And she retakes. She's a beautiful woman now.
Okay.
She retakes the throne of Oz and is the ruler of Oz for the rest of the series. And
gender fluid monarch.
Dorothy comes to Oz on many occasions, and she eventually starts hanging out with Ozma, and they become good friends.
Were they roommates?
Histories will say they were good friends. Well, so another thing is Dorothy in the book is 11 years old.
Oh.
And remains that way forever because the land of Oz keeps her young. At one point, she accidentally left Oz and stepped foot in the land of California briefly and
Thankfully, only
aged
briefly.
rapidly until she was 20-something years old.
That's just what happens in California.
Perfect.
That is what happens in California.
And then when she returned to Oz, she turned back into an 11-year-old.
Oh.
So the land of Oz keeps her young forever, and she lives there permanently at the end of the books. So she is forever an 11-year-old girl. So you guys are all going to jail, I'm afraid.
That is not the age I would choose to be forever.
Well, that's the age she has to be forever. So I don't know what to
at
tell
a
you.
certain point, it's that or death.
So that's a pretty fun thing about that. Off the top of my head, for a bonus point, I'm gonna name a bunch of ways that Dorothy gets to Oz. You tell me if I made one of them is gonna be made up. Tell me which one's made up.
Only one is made up.
Okay.
Only one's made up.
Okay.
1, she falls off a boat and goes into a whirlpool and ends up in Oz. 2, she falls into an earthquake, like creates a fissure in the ground, falls into the ground, ends up in Oz. 3, she was walking along with the Wizard of Oz. They were just going through the forest, accidentally ends up in Oz. Whoops. And then number 4. Number 4 is a magical belt transports her there.
Is it my turn to go first?
Yeah, it's your turn to go first.
I'm going to say the earthquake is the fake one.
Earthquake is fake. Okay.
I'm going to go with the whirlpool and the boat situation's fake, because as we know, Kansas is landlocked and there is no large bodies of water to have a boat on.
She's not allowed to go anywhere?
Yeah, that's crazy, but all right, whatever. All right, Ethan, you got one for me?
I was going to say the boat, too.
A girl can't
You can
take
say
a
the
trip.
boat, too.
It's
I'll say
very
the
far
boat, too.
to a nearest body of water, let me tell you.
The correct answer is none of them. That's right. It was a trick question.
Oh my god!
All our ways Dorothy gets to Oz.
They did all seem plausible to me based on what I know about Oz.
She fell into a fissure on her way to California to visit her cousins,
and that's when she aged rapidly.
She fell into a whirlpool on her way to Australia to visit her other cousins.
Of course,
wow.
Them cousins.
She met Oz in the regular realm, and they started hanging out, and they was wandering around, and then eventually accidentally wandered to Oz.
Weird.
Is this when she was 11?
11. Yeah.
Well, they recognized each other from the previous adventure.
Con wizard from the fairy realm.
Yeah, it's like, aren't you a fake wizard?
Why don't you walk with me in the forest here?
And then, of course, the magical belt does have many powers.
That's very convenient.
Where did she find the belt?
Oh, that's a great question, and such a nice segue too, Lizzie. So, as you may have noticed, they find the Ozma, the true princess of Oz, in like the second or third book. But there's like 40 of them. What the heck are they doing this whole time? Well, one of the main antagonists of the series is the dastardly Gnome King, who lives off to the east.
Oh man, he's a bad guy.
Beyond the impassable desert.
I like him more now that I know that he's a villain.
He originally was the owner of the magical belt that gives people many powers, like the ability to manifest things that they want. Yeah, it's Dwarven belt. They can manifest things they want, or teleport anywhere, or become impervious to harm. It's basically like a fucking MacGuffin belt that just lets you do whatever you want.
Does all the things. Yeah,
it's a nice belt.
They eventually get it from him though, and then the Queen, Ozma, she uses the belt to teleport Dorothy back and forth pretty much whenever she wants.
That's pretty convenient.
I manifest Dorothy's here right now.
Dorothy,
I manifest Dorothy isn't here anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Dorothy also uses her magical silver slippers, which are the original slippers from the book.
I was waiting for that to be a question.
Just not as good in Technicolor.
It wasn't that interesting.
It's a little more fun in Technicolor.
The Emerald City is also not emerald.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the Gnome King before we wrap up here. The Gnome King is kind of the big antagonist of the series. They fight with the heroes of Oz quite often. What's the Gnome King weak to? Is he weak to A, the sun, B, love, C, lions, or D, eggs?
I think it's my turn.
Yeah, go for it.
I want him to be weak to lions, because at some point the cowardly lion would munch him then.
That would make some narrative sense. What do you think, Ethan?
Surely he is weak to love.
You think love defeats this horrible monster?
So Ozma falls in love with him and then just melts away.
It's
gross.
Like, beans.
Well, that is kind of how royalty works. Lizzie, what do you think?
What's left? Fire.
There's the sun.
That's kind of the same thing.
Love, lions, and eggs.
I feel like we're all weak to lions. Really.
I'm gonna say eggs.
You're gonna throw eggs.
That is
out
an
there?
egg allergy.
Yeah, just say eggs. Well, I got good news, Lizzie. The answer is eggs. He is ambiguously weak to eggs being thrown at him.
No.
It doesn't.
I mean, I wouldn't like that either.
It gives the heroes it gives the heroes enough time to take his belt from him, which weakens him significantly in one of the books.
So they at least got to the point that they're like, let's throw eggs at him.
Yeah,
to distract him.
I guess they figured it out, or something.
Yeah.
Actually, no.
He never has eggs for breakfast. Why is that?
That is a weird thing, especially considering how delicious they are. Now, a follow-up question, and I guess we're just going to close the book on the Gnome King here, but how is the Gnome King ultimately defeated?
Eggs?
A, is he thrown into the ocean? B, does he drink the water of oblivion? C, is he transformed into a cactus? Or D, is it eggs?
Turned into an omelet.
CJ, it would be very funny if it was eggs, but that makes me feel like it's a trick.
Ethan, I would never trick you.
Turns out that's a wicked plot.
As you already did in this episode.
It's gotta be the water of oblivion.
You think it's the water of oblivion?
Shit just gets real, fucking
Which exists.
real.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Fran, what do you think it is?
I think he got turned into a cactus.
Think he gets turned into a cactus?
And put into the
All right.
desert that's surrounding everything.
Okay,
This is
fantastic.
gonna double down on eggs.
I say eggs.
So many
You're
Eggs.
gonna double down on eggs.
Eggs, please.
In this case, it is Fran who is the
Damn.
victor against the Gnome King. He is transformed into a cactus, although
That seemed right because of the big desert between their lands.
Mhm.
all of these things actually does happen to him. He is thrown into the ocean. However, when he's thrown into the ocean, he's under a spell that makes him an enormous size, and so he just walks through the ocean. But then the spell wears off when he's in the middle of the ocean, and he's stranded on a desert island for a long time until he's saved in a later book.
That's fun.
He does indeed drink the water of oblivion at one point, which does make him forget all of his memories.
Oh.
The goal of which was to make him forget that he was such a vile, wicked person in the first place. However, he does eventually get his memories back somehow, and so that does not do him in for good. As we said before, they did use eggs against him, although they don't seem to actually kill him. They just seem to make him uncomfortable. So that is how he ends. But then him and one of his evil compatriots were both transformed into cacti at the end of a book, and they were never seen again. So presumably, they're just a couple of cactuses in the desert.
That's the one.
That's
So if it's a saguaro, they can live a pretty good amount of time.
I mean, he's probably alive. He's just a cactus.
Yeah.
He's defeated.
All right. We've got only a couple more quick questions left, but you guys have done great so far. I think we've spread a lot of knowledge here. We've really covered a lot of ground. It occurs to me that I never talked about the Cowardly Lion's backstory. That's
It's
crazy.
true.
Isn't he the third friendly companion that Dorothy gets to? Well, that's right. That's okay. We can talk about the Cowardly Lion and then what happened to all these guys after they got.
We know he got liquor, so he might have developed a drinking problem.
He did.
I
Get
hardly
liquor.
know her.
That's entirely possible. It's very common. So for a point, easy question: how did the Cowardly Lion become so cowardly? Was it A, because as a baby he was put in a cage? Cages, of course, being a new invention at the time, so it turned his animal instincts into fear instead of bravery. Is it B, because he lacks self-confidence, and that's the only reason?
Oh.
Is it C, the Wicked Witch of the West distilled his confidence into a potion vial, which the wizard returns to him? Maybe it wasn't like. Or D, is it because when he was a little tiger, or when he was a little lion, a big tiger bullied him a bunch?
Oh, I think Lizzie's first.
Lizzie, what do you say?
What was B again?
B was he just lacks self-confidence. That's
I'm
the
gonna
only
say
reason.
it's because he lacks self-confidence.
You just think
and
he
then
just doesn't believe in himself?
the plot of Wicked is A.
He was put in a cage as a baby.
Yeah.
And cages
Sound
are a new
very
invention.
Fanfic.
Yes.
Okay. Fran, what do you think?
Yeah. What was the one that wasn't the liquor? Or not liquor, the potion one. There's that lacking self-confidence. Tiger. That was the one I said.
When he was a baby, a big tiger bullied him.
I'm gonna go with Wicked is the cage thing because being anti-caged animal seems too progressive for the early 1900s in terms of like zoos and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And then I think the book eventually retconned that his confidence was distilled by the witch and whatnot, and then eventually given back.
Okay, and then that's what the potion was, and then that's just a fan theory that it was liquor.
Yeah, or some nonsense. I don't know.
I hardly know her.
Cool. All right, Ethan.
All right. I think that the Wicked one was the cage thing because I remember CJ saying that when he was talking about doing this episode.
Cool.
And, you also saw the movie.
Yeah, it's also in the movie we all saw.
Right, but we don't know that that's the lion.
Yeah, but we do because we know how the whole thing's written.
Well, you two do. I've only seen the movie. I haven't seen the whole.
Sure, okay.
Well, there was a lion, and you had to be like, that's got to be the lion, right?
There is no possible way that I would be like that.
Right.
That's
okay.
so stupid.
All right. And then I do remember when I told you that you said, that's really stupid.
Yeah, it stuck with me how stupid that was.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with another stupid answer. I'm going to say that there was a tiger who was mean to him.
All right.
And that's the book reason.
You've all picked different answers. That's very nice. Well, obviously, you all get a point for the he was in a cage as a baby. That's
the plot of Wicked.
And he does interact with a big tiger, but Ethan, they're the best of friends.
No!
And they would never be mean to each other.
That's one of the two options for a lion and a tiger meeting.
So that one's not the right one. See, I just created whole cloth, hoping that you would think that that ties into the end, but nope, the wizard's a charlatan, and the potion he gives him does nothing other than be liquor. Of course, he is just not confident in himself. That's the only reason. Yeah. There's no explained reason why he's so cowardly. In fact, the Cowardly Lion was not a very well-liked character, and so has the fewest appearances in the canon, and it only shows up randomly as a cameo every once in a while.
I hate this stupid.
I agree. I think he's the worst
lion.
So let's do a quick bonus round for a quick point. Each of you, true or false? The guy who made Alice in Wonderland, what's his name?
Good question. I do not know.
Doesn't matter. The episode's not about him.
Lewis Carroll.
Lewis Carroll, thanks.
There we
go.
Lewis Carroll, true or false? Lewis Carroll based Alice from Alice in Wonderland on Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz.
False.
False.
True.
The answer is false.
Damn.
Alice in Wonderland came first. And Baum, he said he didn't understand the plot, so he did not base his character Dorothy after Alice, but he did say he chose a young girl protagonist because of Alice, and Alice in Wonderland was also a young girl who went into a fantasy realm.
I don't like your story, but I'll take your archetype.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So bonus point for the two of you. All right. Nice job, everybody. We've covered pretty much anything. I now have a Hail Mary question. This is an open-ended question. If you get this is sort of catching the snitch. If you get this answer correct, you win the game.
Damn.
Oh.
And if you don't get it correct, that's fine. There's no possible way that you could possibly get this right. But open-ended question, put it in the comments below if you know the answer without hearing me say the answer or looking it up. Who is, and what does his name stand for? But who is Mr. H.M. Wogglebug T.E.?
Damn.
H.M. Wogglebug T.E.
Correct.
I was really hoping for like a Zardoz question.
Who is H.M. Wogglebug T.E.? I'll take T.E. I'll take any of your answers. Anyone brave enough.
I don't remember what his name stands for, but Mr. Wogglebug is a bug that was looked at under a microscope by school children, and then he became that size that they saw him at. So he became like really big.
Lizzie,
real life.
I'm gonna give you a bonus point for knowing that Mr. H.M. Wogglebug T.E. was in fact a regular sized bug that was enhanced in size.
Thank you.
That's wild.
Now,
arcane knowledge.
Here's a helpful hint. That backstory will indeed help you figure out what HM Wogglebug TE stands for.
I don't remember. Is the H huge?
H is not huge.
Okay. Huge.
My brain was going like HM. Turns out His Majesty Wogglebug.
I am just like, I'm in that spot now that all Quidditch players must find themselves in, where I've just played like a really good, solid game and earned my win. And then I see that kid and he's like trying to chase after that one little you lose ball.
All right. Don't worry. No one's going to get this. I'll tell you the answer. Mr. H.M. Wogglebug T.E. is a small bug named the Wogglebug that was a participant in Mr. I believe it's Dr. Know-It-All. He had a class where he would teach the children of Oz. And so he listened in on this class as a little Wogglebug. And then indeed, as Lizzie said, was one day magnified by a magical magnifying glass or a projector, I believe it is also depicted as, that turned him from a small bug into a big bug, where he took on the moniker Mr. Highly Magnified Wobblebug, Thoroughly Educated.
Oh,
wow.
Oh.
And he became a little know-it-all smarty pants throughout the series. He hangs out with the Scarecrow, and the Scarecrow's like, you're saying a lot of words, but I don't actually think you're very smart. I think my folksy wisdom is actually more impressive than your fake diploma-esque wisdom.
But he's TE, thoroughly educated.
He is thoroughly educated. He always introduces himself as Mr. Wogglebug, highly magnified, thoroughly educated.
Now, there's a weird reason why I know this, a roundabout reason about the history of the Wogglebug. It was because there is someone who, on their own entirely, tried to make their own animated movie about the Wogglebug, and it is very, very, very bad and scary. And I watched a YouTuber do commentary about this video.
And yet you didn't even remember about Princess Ozma, who was another character in that.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Man,
I was really focused on the Wogglebug situation.
Well, with that amazing final piece of information, we've come now to the end of our big quiz. Fran, what's the score look like?
That's a great question. Let's see.
I think I lost.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8.5 points for Lizzie.
Nice.
1, 2, 3, 9 points for Ethan.
Oh my God, Ethan in the lead by 0.5 point.
And 9.5 points for Fran.
Oh my God, Fran comes out on top somehow. Amazing. The scorekeeper wins.
Hey now.
So
this isn't a Baker Monopoly being the richest situation.
The first episode I'm ever going to watch so that I can find the truth.
Fran, you now have earned the title of Fran T.E.
Thoroughly educated.
Thoroughly educated.
Master of Wizard of Oz knowledge. Remember, everyone, if people start spouting off canon about Wicked, tell them they're wrong, and then show them this podcast.
That's not canon.
And make them listen to the whole thing, because that's right, we're at the end of this one. Thank you guys for listening to our little silly game show. I hope you liked this format. I know it was a bit more all over the place. We didn't even talk about how each of the characters were gifted their own kingdom to rule at the end of The Wizard of Oz. Because of the mighty feats that they had done during the section of the original book that got cut out. But that didn't seem very important or very interesting, because they all kind of gave up anyway at the end of a bunch of different other books. So kind of doesn't matter. And that's the best thing about lore, is it kind of doesn't matter. So, hey, go make up your own fan fiction about Wicked, and then that'll probably get adapted into a musical or movie or something.
Odds are good, yeah.
Bit of a 50 Shades of Grey situation.
Really pull a 50 Shades on him. Get him, why not?
Hey, Winnie the Pooh is in the public domain now, right?
Yeah, man,
go
make
your own version of that.
I mean,
so
I remember
Steamboat Mickey.
Yeah, I remember the movies as a kid. So it's a pretty low bar, as I recall. You can definitely make something better than that. So go out and tell your stories. But I think that's gonna do it for us. As always, we want to thank Galestorm Kitsune for doing the artwork for our channel. We want to thank Apajo for doing the intro and outro to the podcast. It's a banger. It's pretty much on par with Defying Gravity. It's definitely better than the movie version.
And we're all holding space for it.
Yeah.
It's a little pop culture reference for you.
Sure. That's fantastic. What was your guys' favorite part of The Wizard of Oz?
I really like how making an episode about the lore of The Wizard of Oz has made me legitimately think less of the property.
Wow.
So, that's what this show's all about. This podcast.
Only if I get my way.
I often do a goof of like, wow, that's really dumb and stupid, but this one I'm pretty hardcore like, oh, this shit sucks.
He was writing silly fantasy for children, little 1900s children.
Shit sucks.
Barely could read.
This
is before like Dungeons and Dragons
Chronicles of Narnia.
Yeah, but now that it's after, let's get you, Ethan. I think you are the Tin Man because you're kind of heartless.
Yeah,
but you're a bit of a tank. Lizzie, obviously, you're a Cowardly Lion because you're furry. And Fran, that means you're the Scarecrow, thoroughly educated.
Just like you are default girl of the podcast, you are default Scarecrow.
So Great. That sounds like a good idea to me. But until we make that, I've been CJ.
And I've been Ethan.
I've been Lizzie.
Perfect.
I've been Fran, hugely magnified and thoroughly educated.
That's right. And please.
Do you think Glinda and Elphaba thought about kissing each other?
In the song about them basically talking about how much they wanted to kiss each other? Yeah, I think they maybe thought about it a couple times. And I have some literature to back that up.
And that's the lore we know.
That's the lore, baby.
All right.